Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another production meeting. This is going to be a jam-packed episode. We have three movies to review this week because we're actually recording on a Friday. We all watched Dune last night, which came out last night, premiered. So, yay! Three movies and some news. What did you guys do this week, though?
I did nothing. No, I did some stuff. I watched the homework. I finished MLB. How do you finish MLB? You just keep playing it. No, I platinumed it. And then I started playing the Demon Slayer game that came out last week. Quick review of that. If you're a fan of the series, you'd like the game. You're almost literally just playing through the entire anime and then playing through a couple battles. That's about it. It's very simple at its core. Probably only worth about $20, to be honest. But it's a good game. And if you're a fan of the series, you should pick it up at some point. I'd wait until I'd probably, 6-month mark when it's probably going to get like really sliced down at least halfway. So that's the majority of what I did this week.
Cool.
Who else did stuff?
I was about to say, man.
Matt, do you want to go first?
You guys hear me?
Yes.
There we go. Yeah, I did watch these movies, which is crazy for me because I watched 3 of them. So I'm here to give my reviews on them. Other than that, I, worked and I've been playing Madden because I'm addicted to that crack again. So that's all I've done, really. Madden and the homework. And we've been, like, I know you already reviewed it, Clamp, but the wife and I have been slowly but surely getting through Squid Games. We're like 2/3 of the way through. So, but yeah.
How are you liking it?
Interesting. I think I'm more intrigued than she is, which is why we haven't binged it. But I have enjoyed all the episodes so far.
Cool. Ryan?
I didn't do a whole lot. I did watch a couple of new properties other than the homework. I watched the Muppets Haunted Mansion special on Disney Plus. If you are a Muppets fan, I would recommend it. If you aren't, it's very forgettable and it's not that funny. The only thing that kind of keeps it remotely entertaining is they put like every single Muppet that I've remembered in this. So there's a lot of Muppets nostalgia, but other than that, there's not much carrying it together. And for an hour, it should be more entertaining than it is. So I give that a 5. I finally watched Don't Breathe 2. I don't know if I was missing when we talked about that, or I just don't remember when we talked about that, or we didn't talk about that.
I don't think we talked about it because I literally have not seen it yet.
That's
so.
fine.
I saw it.
I don't think I've seen a movie whiff so hard trying to make the antagonist a protagonist. The entire reason the movie exists is super weak, and by the end, it never even justifies its own existence, other than the fact that the plot itself is really weak. 4 out of 10. It's definitely got some entertaining moments, but not worth watching. And then I went on Netflix and I watched the movie Till Death with Megan Fox, the new horror thriller about a woman who is like handcuffed to her husband after her husband kills himself as a part of a revenge plan against her, and they're trapped in this cabin in like Alaska or somewhere. And it was actually a ton of fun. I would definitely recommend it. It's not great, but I went into it with really low expectations because everything that it looked like, and it actually ended up being a pretty entertaining thriller. So solid watch. And then
so it's arguable that that's not the worst thing you watched this week.
There's definitely one worse thing I watched this week, and we're going to talk about it later. Yeah, and I've been rewatching all my Dune stuff, so I've got these here. But you don't need to rewatch any of these if you go see the new one now.
Yay.
Oh, good. And that's my review.
So.
Okay, so just real quickly, I am going to restructure this because I feel like I'm going to go before Ryan every week now, just to rename this What Bullet Ryan Took for the rest of us. What horrible Netflix show or movie Ryan watched this week. However, I started Warrior on HBO Max. I guess it was like a Cinemax like show. It's actually really good. It takes place like in the 1890s in San Francisco, and it's like Asian American gangs and stuff like that. It's kind of like Sopranos with like kung fu and stuff. It's actually or karate. It's actually really good. Very gruesome though. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's very graphic, but a good show. And I've been like, I haven't really been doing anything because I have like an Italian class that's like overly bearing. So I've just been like binge watching Happy Endings, which was like a sitcom in like 2013 on Netflix. Highly underrated show, canceled too soon. I hope that they try and like bring this back because it was a really funny show. So that's my rant. You guys ready for the news?
Always.
Always. All right. So there's going to be some few things on here. And at the end, we're going to like go over like the DC FanDome stuff because that was on the 16th last week. So real quickly, the Sopranos prequel series, like we discussed like a couple weeks ago, is being discussed at HBO Max. I guess the Many Saints of Newark was like a hit on HBO Max and not in theaters. So I think this is why they're doing this. I'm kind of down for this if it follows the movie. Like I said in my review, it was like a 2-hour TV pilot. That's basically what I thought it was. So good. But yeah, if they follow the same trend that they did with the Many Saints of Newark, I think this will be a pretty successful show. You guys have
yeah, go ahead, Matt.
No, I was just gonna say I think you're right, Clint. As far as I think this movie was just a glorified like pilot for a series, and they had a very low like threshold of success that they needed to greenlight a series. And I feel like they've got it because I mean these streaming services, they just gobble up and crave new content, even if it's old content that they just need to reboot or bring back. So yeah, I am not surprised. I'm not excited, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I thought because I didn't watch it. I've never seen The Sopranos or anything. I thought, yeah, as long as you guys thought the quality was good, it's a good move just to kind of forego the theater aspect and just concentrate on streaming. That's how it was conceived. That's how it should kind of stay the course. So yeah, it's a smart move.
Cool. Ryan, you have any thoughts?
I no attachment whatsoever, so I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
Cool. MCU delays. So they shifted literally every single movie. I don't have all the dates with me because it's a lot to go over. However, I believe Kevin Feige came out and gave the reason why the delays was because of some production delays that were on Black Panther 2. So they needed to shift literally everything around. So I do know the most notable one is that Doctor Strange is not coming. Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness is not coming out in March. It's now coming out in the beginning of May. And they just shifted everything to like their other release dates. So boo.
Yeah, I was more sad because I was planning on taking a vacation during the opening of Black Panther 2. And now I'm gonna have to take a vacation during the opening of Thor, which is not as awesome, but whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did look at these dates, and I mean they didn't look too bad. Like I saw a lot of people were really upset that they got pushed back, and it looks like most of them weren't pushed back more than just a couple months, which is, I think not actually terrible.
Right.
For most of these, I was looking at these and I didn't even know they were coming out this soon. So I was like, I looked at like Thor, and I was like, oh, it's moved back to July. It's coming out in July. So
yeah,
I think that's where it is.
Yeah. More MCU news. Spider-Man No Way Home may be delayed because of this. They haven't officially delayed this because I don't think that it's actually part of like Marvel. This is more Sony than Marvel, I guess. So this may be delayed due to this. I hope not, because it's the only thing in December that I'm kind of looking forward to.
In other news, they are re-releasing a director's cut of Venom 2 in its place.
That's so gross.
So that's the day I'm going to be watching The Last Duel again.
Yeah, it's purely because Sony has control over this. That's why Disney can't touch it and move it. Do I think it stays? Who's to say? But obviously, I hope it stays. No idea. I mean, this close to. I mean, what? We're almost like literally.
Month and a half.
Yeah, 2 months. Wait, when is it actually released? Like what so far?
17.
That's like 2 months.
Okay, yeah, so basically 2 months.
Yeah.
I still think that's kind of too small a window to be like, oh, we're jumping ship. So I think Sony stands put. Given that they moved Venom up, even though that was a big hot pile of garbage, maybe they knew that, maybe they didn't. I think they stand pat.
I hope so. One more bit of MCU news. I kind of just like glanced over this. I guess the Hulk is getting another solo movie, World War Hulk.
So I saw that article, but not like via. Was it via IGN that you shared it?
You think so?
I saw it on some random. I don't even remember the name of the site I saw it on. So I didn't share it because I was like, I don't think this is reputable. So I don't know how real this is, but apparently it's real. Good for Ruffalo. He, we need a standalone Hulk movie, but do we? I don't know. It's purely like, what is it going to be about? I can't say yay or nay to this yet.
I don't know. It's funny because it's like its rumored title is World War Hulk, and but they already used kind of like bases of World War Hulk and Thor Ragnarok, so it's kind of weird on why they would do World War Hulk with this, but whatever.
I know it's been a long time coming. I think if Black Widow can get her own movie, why don't we give Mark Ruffalo his own movie too?
Yeah, man, we need smart, sophisticated Hulk walking around for 2 hours.
Yeah,
on his own.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. Or not. Trailer news. I hope you guys have seen some of these. First off is Red Notice. I know this is Ryan's favorite actor, Dwayne the
You're gonna
Rock.
hear a lot from
Oh
me.
wait, yes, I have seen this.
Favorite actor.
Red Notice with Ryan Reynolds, Dwayne Johnson, and Gal Gadot. It's a Netflix movie. I guess it's coming out the 5th or 12th. I think it's releasing in theaters, select theaters on the 5th, and then it'll be dropped on Netflix on the 12th of November.
So did they release a new trailer?
Yeah.
Okay, because I had seen one probably about 2 months ago, and I was like, all right, this is kind of cool. Netflix, bought the rights, and I was like, dang, that's a shame because I'd have gone and see this in theaters.
I would too, if we get it down here, but if not, Netflix. The next one is Uncharted.
Boo!
Looks so good, so amazing.
Boo! All of you shut up. I don't care about your opinions. It's bad. It looks bad. It's stupid. I'm still going to go see it. I'm going to be the first one in line.
It looks pretty bad, man. It looks pretty bad.
I told Ryan, either I told Ryan or I told you guys. I can't remember who I texted, but I said, it just looks like a bunch of action generic moviness. And then a couple of guys cosplay as these two characters. And one of them's not even the guy. It's like my hat. Oh man, this is a Dune hat. And then you just slap a tag on Mark Wahlberg and it says Sully. Hey, I'm Sully. Do you look like him? No. Are you sounding like him? No. Are you even imitating him? No. But I'm Sully. Stupid.
You're telling me Mark Wahlberg doesn't have the acting chops to impersonate somebody?
Not in this case. No.
Well, I don't think if it makes you feel any better, I don't think Tom Holland doesn't need anything different either.
That's not true. He has an American accent.
Oh,
This movie, man.
let me bust out my Spider-Man.
For Tom Holland, is that different or is that his usual?
I'm waiting for this
Pretty good at it.
to get pushed up to January because that's where it deserves to go and die. I'm sorry, Sony. I love the series. This shouldn't be made. As a fan, this just shouldn't be made. And I've ranted about this for months and months. We don't need it.
I want to see if I can find a positive thing about this real quick. If my suspicion.
I got to like a minute left in this trailer, and I said I'm good because I was like, I'm done.
What, you didn't see the airplane sequence from Uncharted 3?
What? They did that like all sporadically throughout. Yes, I did see it, and it
You get hit by a car in midair. I mean, if that's not amazing filmmaking, I don't know what is.
Did they show? One of my favorite parts was I haven't played the games as much as Mr. Alex over here, but did they show like a double cross in this movie too? They're like, here's this one lady, and then like 45 seconds later, it's like, you shouldn't trust me. Do you know who you're working for? Or something like that. And I was like, what?
Yes and no. That one, I don't know the actress name, but the character's name is Chloe Fraser, and she's kind of like, you never know where she stands. Like she's always a good person. It's like whatever she can stand to profit from, that's the side I guess she'll stand with. But she's never like bad. She's just never fully trustworthy.
Gotcha.
So yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
Boo to this trailer.
She sounds like Ada Wong in the Resident Evil series.
I thought I would look up and see who their composer was, because I was like, oh, if they get Henry Jackman back, it'd be great. We could at least get another good Uncharted score, and they don't have a composer announced yet.
Not a good sign. This is gonna go the ways of like the most recent Tomb Raider, and that'll be a success in my opinion. If it can be that mediocre, I will be happy. Because I don't want this to be giving me a stain of vision. Yeah. Oh, why do you own that?
So cute. Look at that. Look at that, Lara Croft.
Couple things. I like it, and it was $1.
Okay. Okay, it's worth $1. It's worth $1.
I'll prove. Oh no, see, it's generic family video side. It's got like the real back, but it's got the fake side.
I'm with you, Ryan. I actually enjoyed that Tomb Raider. I didn't like him.
It's fine. It's okay. It's worth $1. I'll say that it's worth
$1. Yes,
it's like worth $1. Yeah, I think it runs and kind of trips across the finish line, but it still finishes.
Yeah,
and I mean,
it's like, zombies, and we're done.
and I'll be the first one to watch this Uncharted movie, just so I can be the first opinion out there. And then I'll, whenever we get the poster, I'm gonna take it because I loathe myself a little, but I also, I also feel compelled to own it because it is Uncharted after all. So, but I don't have to like it.
So the last trailer is being the Ricardos. I'm actually kind of excited for this. I will say that Javier Bardem looks a little taller than Desi, but I guess
and a little old.
A little older, yeah.
Yeah. I agree though. I didn't know this film was coming out until like a couple days ago, and the trailer dropped, and I was like, oh, Oscar season, cool. I love finding out about these surprise films, and I think it looks great. I love like these behind the scenes. There's a very specific audience for them. Like Mank was a very specific audience. This looks a little more interesting than Mank, so I'm excited.
Yeah,
dude, I totally forgot about Mank.
Yeah, me too. Until I mentioned it just now, I was like, I haven't given that movie a second thought.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm kind of excited about this. It does look good. I like Nicole Kidman, and yeah, like Ryan said, it does look a little. It's written by Aaron Sorkin, so I think it will be kind of at least intriguing. So that was the trailers. History of the World Part 2 is finally coming from Mel Brooks.
Now, every week, I think I ask you if you've made something up.
I was like, I've never even heard of this.
He was waiting for more history to pass before he could make the movie.
Are you serious?
No, I don't know.
No, I'm sorry.
I didn't realize Mel Brooks was still alive.
I didn't either until this came out, and it was like being written by Mel Brooks, and I was like, isn't he like 99 years old? Like, how old is this man?
That you're probably not far off. He's definitely in his like late 80s and 90s.
Yeah. So Alex, you're gonna have to add this to your list of movies that we're giving you. History World Part 1 is a spoof by Mel Brooks.
It's 95.
Oh, see, I wasn't far off. So this is coming to Hulu. This is not being theatrically released. Yeah. So Alex, History World Part 1. Get on this. Did it? Yes. True or false? It came out after Blazing Saddles? Blazing Saddles was like in the 60s, right? 68?
I feel like it came out after Blazing Saddles.
Yeah, I think it was.
Blazing Saddles is 74.
Oh,
History of the World is 81, apparently.
okay. So yeah, that seems about right. Okay. You guys have any thoughts on Mel Brooks' History of the World Part 2? Part 2?
No, because I got homework to do, apparently.
Do you though?
Have you seen it, Ryan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you telling me I'm getting a History of the World sequel before I get a Spaceball sequel?
Yeah,
Kind of
Well, Star
What
Wars
is
has already
this?
become self-parody.
It's so true.
Yeah, I'm a coin toss on Mel Brooks, and I do not like History of the World Part 1.
Yeah. He's very hit and miss. Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, Spaceballs. That's about it. Robin Hood Men in Tights was
Yeah.
It's not
it
good,
was
but it's
funny, but it was horrible. But yeah,
I like Dracula Dead and loving it quite a lot, but I know that's not actually a popular movie because it's so specifically making fun of like just like if you love two specific movies, you can enjoy this. And if you haven't seen those, it's just
yeah,
it's too parody actually.
yeah. Okay, so the last bit of news is the DC FanDome stuff. So I'm just gonna kind of like go over this stuff. You guys give some thoughts on this. So DC FanDome again was like their Comic-Con that they like go over all the DC stuff that's coming out in the future. Some trailers, things of that nature. So we got the first look at Black Adam, which to me is didn't really reveal much of it. Didn't even see him in his costume. They shoot at him a lot. But yeah. Apparently Pierce Brosnan really likes Dwayne Johnson too.
He likes being paid to say that.
He probably does.
You can pay me to say that.
Yes.
But I've not been James Bond talking about how great Dwayne Johnson is.
Yeah. And then they just name the characters that they all are. Cool. All right. We could have read that, but anyway.
But why read it when you can hear the actors talk about how great the star is, even though he's clearly the bad guy of the movie? And I don't really want to see a movie about him based on the teaser. Like, just looks like he's the bad guy, but also the main character. But like clearly the antagonist, not just like Corella, the bad guy. It's like a bad person that I have no interest in watching as a lead for a movie. But because he's Dwayne Johnson, he's too big to share the screen with anybody else. He and his ego. And I guess Pierce Brosnan can be paid enough to share the screen with him.
Well, I think Pierce Brosnan's one step away from retirement, so anyway, then we got a look at Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. This again was just a very brief teaser to the behind the scenes stuff and how amazing James Wan is. This is probably what he was doing before he wrote Malignant. I don't know.
He was probably what he's doing while he wrote Malignant.
Probably. This will come out in December 16th of 2022. So yay. We got an official trailer for the Suicide Squad game, Kill the Justice League. Yay.
Yay.
It looks pretty cool. It gives kind of a harken back to the Arkham games. Now, this is an actual question. Did you guys watch the official teaser for the Peacemaker?
Yes.
No. I saw some like screenshots from the trailer, but I did not watch it itself.
I'm actually legitimately excited about this now. They take this character a little bit further, and it is just as weird as like his character in Suicide Squad. So I'm legitimately kind of excited about this now.
This is an HBO Max series set for what time? Do we have
I
it?
believe it's released. It's going to be released in January 13th, 2022. So not too far off.
Okay.
So yeah, he's I'm assuming by the way that the trailer's set up is that this is after Suicide Squad, and that he's kind of teamed with some of the characters from Suicide Squad, like the guy in the chair characters, and that he's going to be fighting bad guys in his weird ass way. And then he gives like a bald eagle a hug. That was bizarre for me. Let's see what else. We were just kind of like going through some of this stuff. Doom Patrol was renewed. Titans was renewed. They released a teaser for The Flash. Again, kind of stoked about this, like especially Keaton in his Batman costume and the Batmobile.
I did see that too.
You did?
I thought it was fairly good. Like, I don't want to just jump all on board with this, but I'm like, you got Michael Keaton, stokes the flames pretty good in this one. So I'm excited for this.
Yeah. Looks pretty cool. Some stuff for the Sandman coming to Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm trying to like go through some of this stuff. They get the official trailer for the Gotham Knights game that's coming out. Some Batwoman stuff that was released. Where is it? The new Batman trailer, the Batman trailer. I'm on the opposite end of Ryan on this one. This looks amazing to me. Very dark, very like they were saying earlier before this trailer dropped that it was kind of like a horror movie. This does have that horror movie feel to it. They also said that I read somewhere that I guess Pattinson has been in the costume about 75% of this movie. So I guess we'll see a lot of the Batman.
I'm leaning towards your side, Clint. I agree. I like the dark grittiness of it. Matt Reeves is directing this, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I was excited about this trailer. Matt had pointed out, he and I were talking about it. He looks decent in the costume and the mask.
Mm-hmm.
He looks a little off when he's, in regular like Bruce Wayne. And it's like the hair alone, I agree. Like, I had just seen the trailer yesterday for the first time, and I was like, yeah, he looks a bit off that way.
Yeah.
But otherwise, good story. Seems to be kind of poking through this, and I love the darkness, the dark tone of it. So I'm all for this.
Cool. We also got a behind the scenes look at Shazam: Fury of the Gods, which reveals Lucy Liu and Helen Mirren as villains in this movie. I liked the first one, so I'm not really excited for this, but I will stand in line for it, I guess. And lastly, Batman: The Caped Crusader is a DC animated show with executive produced by Bruce Timm, J.J. Abrams, and Matt Reeves. I guess it's going to be reanimated. It's going to be more Batman the animated series, but in like a darker noirish type tone. So I'm kind of stoked for that because I'm a huge fan. I think like Avatar: The Last Airbender is probably one of the best animated series of all time, and then Batman the animated series. So that's why I'm kind of stoked about this. Any thoughts on any of that stuff?
No, I pretty much got what I got out of the highlights. Like, I've already said what I said, so if anybody else has something.
I think the Batman looks good, and it will probably be very good. But I wasn't excited for Spider-Man: Homecoming either, because we had just gotten the Spider-Man trilogy and then 2 other Spider-Man movies, and we were fresh off of just a lot of Spider-Man, and now we just got our Batman trilogy. Not just, but we've just wrapped up our Batman trilogy less than 10 years ago, and we've had Batman in 2 other films. Yeah. And we had Batman in one of those films again this year. So I'm just like, I don't want this. I don't think we need it. If you told me this movie was coming out in 5 years, I'll probably get excited for it. It'll probably be very good. I just don't want it. It looks great.
Right. And then part of me does agree with you, Ryan, because it's like they were talking about this like Gotham PD show that was kind of like Gotham. It's not supposed to have Batman, so it's supposed to be like Gotham, but like a much darker tone. And I think that that's what that show kind of lacked, was a dark, like this kind of dark tone. I'm a little bit more excited about that because they were also talking about doing a Penguin show with Colin Farrell.
Yeah, I
which
remember that.
Colin Farrell going for an Oscar nomination.
Right.
Like, I still don't believe it's him.
Oh, I don't either.
They're just
I had
punking
to-
us.
Yeah, I had to tell my boss that was Colin Farrell, and he's like, "What? No, it's not." Yeah, yeah, it is. But I think I'm more excited about that than I am the movie because, like you said, Ryan, like we've had Batman a few times, but like the underbelly of Gotham and like the seediness of it would be pretty cool to see.
Yeah, it's like when you finish a big plate of dinner and you don't want to start talking about dinner tomorrow night. You want to talk about dessert.
Right. All right. That's all my news. You guys have anything else?
The Bebop trailer. That's all I got.
Oh no.
Matt's like, no, we don't have anything else. Shut up, Ryan. No, speaking of all the DC news, I don't know if I'm pretty sure it was announced this week. Arguably one of the best Alfreds in this cinema. He retired from acting this week, I believe. Mr. Michael Caine. So yeah, I don't know if that's what is he like 90? He's like 90 something, isn't he?
Probably.
So doesn't shock me at all, but kudos on a very, very good career, sir.
He's a sir. Sir.
I will say this, not that I want to go back to the Cowboy Bebop trailer, but technically it is a very impressive trailer. Like, it's really good looking as far as like how it's shot. Tonally, it looks like everyone's just in cosplay, and it's really weird.
Well, what my takeaway wasn't that it got me more excited for the show. It got me more interested in the show because I was like, you can't shoot a whole show like this, can you? Is it just for marketing? Did they do this trailer just for marketing? Because you can't film that and then cut it out of context and have the bar going across. Like, so you obviously did it either for context or the show's going to be like that. And in which case, it will be this weird, campy version of this show, which might be the safest way to present it, or it might be
That's very,
terrible.
very true.
Like, I don't know. It's just got me more interested. Like, I've seen Bebop all the way through like 5 times. I absolutely love it, and I don't want this to happen. But if it's happening, I'm glad that it doesn't look super straightforward. And it's called, like, they announced that it was also called like the Lost Sessions. And I'm like, oh, because the main title sequence made it look like they were pulling from episodes, but now they might not be pulling from episodes. But they also are going to do the Ballad of Fallen Angels arc because that's what the imagery looked like in some of the pictures they released. So I'm just more curious than anything else. I'm ready for it.
I get that.
How many episodes are in the anime?
24, and then the movie.
Oh, so it's pretty
good.
short. Yeah. Okay.
It's Firefly length, which ironically was definitely inspired by Bebop. With one movie.
Such a good movie.
Yeah.
All right.
Wait, which one, Serenity or Bebop?
That's Serenity.
Okay. Like, yes, I guess the answer is yes.
Because I've never seen Cowboy Bebop. And I didn't know if it was like Naruto length where I had to watch like 500 episodes.
No, you can you can watch it. They're all 20-minute episodes. There's a couple 2-parters, and watch the movie after episode 21, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a chronological order where the movie you kind of have to wait for the last couple. It's great. You should watch it.
I remember only the theme song to Cowboy Bebop because I remember that show would come on like really late on, I think it was Adult Swim, back in like late 90s, early 2000s. And, one that's really late. And then that show, I guess I was too young at the time to appreciate the story because it just seemed very slow to me. And, but so now I think I'm in a good mind frame to go back and
you guys
give those
are
a
in
try.
luck because it's going to be on Netflix at the end of the month.
Ooh, cool.
It's on Hulu now.
Oh, and it's on Hulu. So you can just watch it there.
So you can watch it on a thing somewhere.
Like about Bebop the board game too.
Why are
I've never
why are these a thing, man? Why is that a thing? It's okay. It's okay that it's anything. Money.
All right. Anything else? So we got a few more.
Unless you guys want to be depressing and talk about Alec Baldwin.
I'd rather not.
Okay.
Oh.
I want to know more information before I just look at the title, look at some of the stuff, and be like, well, that happened.
Yeah, we'll have to probably save that for another time.
This happens.
This new season of 30 Rock not looking too good.
Oh, jeez.
Anyway, moving on. Okay, so we'll talk about Dune last. So we got 3 movies to go through: Last Duel, Halloween Kills, and Dune. We'll talk about Dune last because I'm sure that most of us want to talk about that more than these other 2. So who votes to go first with? Is it Last Duel or Halloween Kills? Which one do you guys want to do first?
We gotta get Halloween Kills out of the way.
Okay.
I don't think I disagree. I kind of want to get the better one and then go down and then get over talking about Halloween Kills by talking about Dune.
Get like a slingshot effect.
Yeah, because if we talk
It's
about
like a
like
counseling
Dune
session.
and then last, yeah,
All right.
Okay,
Fine with me.
let's do Last Duel then. Okay, because Ryan makes a good point, a good argument at least. So The Last Duel is a new Ridley Scott movie with Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, and Adam Driver, and it takes place in like 1300s in France.
Mhm.
And it is about a story of a woman that is accusing a steward of rape, and it's the way that the movie is set up is kind of interesting. And Ryan said that it might be a kind of a spoiler to kind of give it away, but it is told through multiple points of view. So I watched this with Alex and Matt, and I like
All 3 of us alone in a theater together.
Present.
in a dark theater. And I love watching movies with you guys because it's fun and it's hilarious. But this was probably like the most uncomfortable that I've ever been sitting with you 2. Because this movie, I liked how this movie was shot. I liked the acting of this movie because, sorry, Ryan, but it's set up in 3. Every act, it's set up in 3 acts, and that's where you get into like multiple points of view of what the incident happens, and then it gives like a little history on like leading up to said event, and then like the aftermath of the event is told through in the last act of the movie. So.
No, you're fine. I think you're right, because the only way to really talk about the best things in this movie for me too is also to talk about the fact that it's told from 3 different perspectives.
Yeah. Okay. So it is set in 3 different perspectives. Part 1 is told through Matt Damon's character. Part 2 is set up through Adam Driver's point of view, and then the last act is through her point of view, Jodie Comer's, who is Matt Damon's wife in the movie. I can't remember any of these names because they're super French and
yes,
butcher them anyway. So the last act is told and up to the consequences and aftermath of said event is told through Jodie Comer's point of view. So the first time, like Adam Driver's point of view, you see the unfortunate incident, and then we have to relive it through her point of view, which is super uncomfortable, because not only do you get this once, but twice. And I understand that it's like an important story, but do we really need to go through this twice? So I really wanted to give this movie like a 7 because the acting is incredible. Jodie Comer this is probably her launch party, because she's done really well on like Killing Eve and like a couple other shows. I think she was even in Rise of Skywalker, to be honest with you. But
and Free Guy, right?
She was Rey's mother in the flashback. He's only like in like a couple of scenes. Anyway, but like the acting and stuff, like Ridley Scott does really, I like Ridley Scott's medieval tales. Like Kingdom of Heaven is like one of my top 20. So I really enjoy his view on the medieval times and things like that. But this is I'm watching this once. Just watch this once, because it is, like I said, it's super uncomfortable through like halfway through the movie, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I give this a 7, and I probably piggyback on some of the stuff that you guys say, but that's all I can remember off the top of my head.
All those are pretty good points. Yeah, the the elephant in the room is obviously the act in itself, so it's hard to get through some of those scenes, especially when you're, you know, in a, public domain, everything, with friends and everything. So it's, it makes it uncomfortable. Despite that, it's a very well told story, and like you said, it's shot very well. The action scenes are, I don't know if would you consider that choreography, or I don't know, just general assembly?
I think there's a lot of choreography to do with like the fact that they're actually doing like actual armor and stuff too.
Yes. Okay, so then I do say choreography, and it's all well done. It's all well put together. The cinematography's on point. I can't say much about the score because I'm not classically trained like others in this group, but
I'll get back to it.
It's good. It's fitting, at least, and I thought Adam Driver was the standout from this, but from what I can gather, this is kind of his wheelhouse. He does period pieces like this, at least in early stages of his career, he's done them, and so it's effective and it shows, and I like it. Again, with the uncomfortable moments out of the way. Yeah, I'd go with Clint on this as well. 7 out of 10. It's one of those, I kept saying, like, Pieces of a Woman that we had reviewed way early in the year. Like, this is a great movie, but I have a really hard time recommending this. I would say if you're a Game of Thrones fan, you probably can handle this. It's got elements of that. There's drinking, there's fighting, there's fornication, and then
orgies.
That was biblically put.
Yes. To keep
that's his Rotten Tomatoes quote right there.
Yeah,
there's drinking, there's fighting, there's fornication.
So, if you can handle that stuff, you're probably not going to be too shocked by this. But so it's a decent story, I think, for the most part, well told. So 7 out of 10 for me on this one.
I've floated between the numbers of 6 and 7, and I'll tell you why. As not to hark on the fact that everyone says it's beautifully shot, because it is. It's a very beautiful movie. I personally think the standout for this is Matt Damon. I think he gets in this role. This is not Matt Damon that we know. This is a new guy. Jean-Jacques, whichever one it is, I get them confused. They're all French. He's great in here. Comer's great in here.
French guy too.
Adam Driver, this is his wheelhouse. This is what he does. But this is a performance I think we've seen from him before already. I mean, I don't really, nothing stood out for me for him. But between Comer and Damon, I think this movie is good. Is it 7 good? I mean, why wouldn't it be 7 good? So I think a 7's a good number for it. The things I didn't like, and if we're talking about actors in here, and I'm not sure if it's the way they styled him, but I could not get past Mr. Ben Affleck in this movie.
Yeah.
I don't think it fit. I mean, I understand. I mean, I guess I understand why he's in this movie, but you could have found someone else. Other than that, it's uncomfortable. It's supposed to be uncomfortable. The way it's put together, even though I found it a little annoying at first, I understood what they were going with. I hate when you show a film and then you cut away from scenes and I'm like, oh, wait, this is part of the gimmick of here. This is why we're doing this. I understand. But I think the payoff is solid at the end of it too. So that's what makes it okay. Is it rewatchable? That is a question. I'm not sure if the gimmick or, if it makes it worthy of a rewatch. It's no Kingdom of Heaven, but it's not bad. So I don't think I can discredit that to a 6 for that. So a 7 out of 10. I think we've mentioned everything already. So I'll hand the reins to Ryan.
Yeah. I'm so glad you guys both mentioned Kingdom of Heaven. Clint, you said it was in your top 20. It's in my top 1. No joke. The director's cut of Kingdom of Heaven is actually my favorite film of all time. The perfect combination of Ridley Scott's ability to handle the Middle Ages with Harry Gregson Williams' score was definitely the thing that pushed Last Duel to an 8 for me. And that's cheating. It's not the movie that pushed it to an 8. It's a different movie. I can't help it. It's just how I feel about it. I'm gonna feel a little more biased in about 2 movies we're talking about. But I love the way it was put together. Matt, I completely agree with you. This might be down to a 7 when I rewatch it. I would love to rewatch it, but I don't know how well that formula will hold up. Every time a movie is told from different perspectives, like I loved watching Vantage Point. Great movie for the first time. Couldn't get through it the second time. I was like, this is so boring. I've already seen everything that's going to happen. So the fun parts go away. But I don't think that should diminish the quality of the movie, because this movie does really run with its premise. And I love the way, I mean, I think it's well made and all that. And Alex, you're talking about the score. I really like the score. It's too short. I listened to the whole score, and it's like 40 minutes of music across 2.5 hours of movie. Mm-hmm. So I wanted, Gregson Williams can do more. I kind of wanted more, but really good music. I've been listening to it back to back with Green Knight, and it's a good year for fantasy scores. But the thing I love most about this movie is the way they do the act structure and work that in with the characters and themes. So you're introduced in Act 1 to protagonist Matt Damon, because we're moviegoers. That's right, he's the protagonist, and his performance is very good. And everyone else is kind of sidelined, and you're like, okay, this is what I expected from this movie. Then you get into Act 2 and you see Adam Driver's perspective, and I laughed. I was chuckling a lot, because obviously, going into it, he's kind of the antagonist. And so I love seeing the little differences in the scenes where it's like I'm going to give away some little, I was like advocating for not spoiling anything, and I'm just going to give little things away. But like in the opening of Matt Damon's, they're kind of charging into this battle, and you get Damon's perspective, and it's the right thing to do, and everybody follows him. And then you get Drivers, and Matt Damon charges in, and Adam Driver's like, we have to save him before he dies, and they all charge in. And I'm like, I like that. I like the little differences in everyone's tale. And there's one moment in all 3 of these that's done so perfectly when Adam Driver's character and Jodie Comer's character first meet, and they do that scene in all 3, and it's shot just slightly differently every time, and I loved that. And then you get to her segment, which is very much where the themes come into play, which was where the movie just really starts to like focus on truth as a main theme, and then you're like, oh, I hate everybody but her. And I love the way that makes you feel stupid for rooting for Matt Damon early on. And it's not like he's a terrible character. He's a very well-developed character. But I love the way that plays into how you should feel about the movie, how you should feel about the story. And as uncomfortable as it makes me feel, I love how long and uncomfortable the actual rape scene is. And I hate saying that, but I think that's exactly what the movie should be. You should be like it's meant to put you in that mindset of like, oh, this is awful. Oh yeah, this is awful. And I think it's important that it's twice, because the first time you're like, oh yeah, this is awful. But you get kind of Adam Driver's side of it, because it's like, oh yeah, it's awful. And then it's like her side, and it's like, oh my gosh, no, this is so much worse than the version we had previously been given. And I just love the execution. Again, I hate saying that. It's awkward to say, but they did that. They did the presentation of that so well to convey that.
No.
Me?
You're good. You're good now.
I am here. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, now it's kind of jittering all over the place.
Take a little break.
But anyway, it's important. The execution of it is important. And the way, the payoff of that, I think really pulls the audience in, and you're really, really invested, because you've spent the last 3 act structures kind of being taken through the story. And so, Matt, I agree with you. I don't know how rewatchable this is, but on first viewing, I think it's definitely worth an 8. The big detractor was Ben Affleck. I think it's because he can't pull off a French accent, and no one's trying to do French accents except for all the actors who are singing in French for some reason. But then they have to say French things, and he's not very good at saying French things. So then he just sounds like Ben Affleck when he's trying to say things that Adam Driver and Matt Damon are easily getting through.
He looks like Vanilla Ice.
Hey, Grey Poupon. Je me sais pas.
Yeah, I actually I like that scene too, Ryan, where he like the battle scene from Adam Driver's point of view, because even his dad was like, let him go, he's gonna die. Like, he's an idiot. And he's like, no, like we kind of have to save him for some reason. So they go save him. But yeah. Is that it for The Last Duel? Watch it purely for acting. Don't watch it for the content.
Well, there's not, yeah. Anyway, I'll be done talking about rape.
Zoom's gonna hate us soon. So next up is Halloween Kills.
Evil dies tonight.
Halloween Kills this franchise.
Yeah. I'm gonna do spoilers for this because we kind of like do spoilers for movies that we don't want other people to see, and I really don't want other people to see this. So Halloween Kills takes place literally minutes after the 2018 version, and I got a text from Matt saying that this was like one of those movies that you have to care about insignificant characters from the original, and it is literally true. It was like they gave. I'm not even gonna give the synopsis for this movie because I don't even know what the hell happened.
Michael Myers kills people.
Yeah, and somehow.
I mean, that's in the title though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he goes home a couple times for some reason.
To stare at his reflection.
Yeah, because apparently we all stared at reflections of their inner demons or something. I don't know. Anyway, so they gave it was like they did the 2018 version and they were like, see how cool and moody this can be. And we were like, yeah, we want more of this. And they were like, cool. Do you remember the 1978 version? Yeah. Do you remember all these characters? No, not really. Well, you have to now because they're important. Are they though? Because I don't think they are. And then they end up killing like half of them. So whatever. This was dumb. I give this a 3. I think the only reason why I gave it like 3 points is because it still kind of carries that moodiness from like the first one. It's like that kind of grim and gritty version that they were kind of going for in the 2018 version. So I give them props for that. But like you don't really get much screen time with any of these characters. Like I think like Jamie Lee Curtis is in this movie for 15 minutes total. Her granddaughter is in this movie for maybe 10. The rest of the movie is just kind of like chopped up between like random characters from the 1978 version, with Anthony Michael Hall as Tommy. Kyle Richards is in this for some reason. Like she's in this for like 5 minutes. But it's such a like a combined mess and so chaotic that by the time that you kind of get comfortable with the storyline that you're following, they're like, yeah, exactly, storyline that you're following, they're like, just kidding, here's another character from some random place in the original movie that we want to make relevant again. Boom. And you're like, oh okay, and we're just gonna follow this one. So yeah, 3. No, I'm not rewatching this either.
I think a 3 is spot on. I'm going to give it a 3, and 2 of those points are kind of ironic. The 1 point, like I give it of good quality, is, and I am the least qualified to review these movies because I've only seen original, 2018, and this one because I was told that there was like the bare minimum I needed to get through this, and apparently not, because you need to
pass your test.
Yeah. Yeah. You get a C-, a D+. Okay. So the one scene I thought was of fairly good quality, albeit at its simple, it's simple at its core. And again, I'm bad at the character names. The one scene where Michael is like terrorizing the people in the car, and then one of them runs off into the like woods and hides like by a tree stump or by the base of a tree.
Kyle Richards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I found that
Cool.
scene to actually be fairly like effective. Like I thought, okay, this is not terrifying, but it's a good scene. Like I can. This is if the movie was like this scene kind of all spread throughout, like as far as quality goes, it'd be a lot more. It'd be as good as like 2018's version. So that's that. But the rest of this movie was entirely dumb, and the ironic points that I'll give it were scenes that were just like ridiculous. And I just mentioned the car, like him breaking into the car and terrorizing all those, previous characters and characters just newly established in this movie. It's so dumb. Like that one old lady, apparently from the very first movie. Okay. She's got a gun and she's like trying to shoot Michael and is missing badly. She's shooting the windows. And then she's like, oh, let me lock the door because I've shot all the windows and he can't get in if I lock the door. I don't get it. It's really dumb, but it's almost fun because of that. Another scene is at the very beginning where what was the little boy's name who's now grown up? Tommy, that she was babysitting.
Yeah.
He's now grown up and they're at a freaking bar and they're doing like a talent show, which, okay, that's weird at a bar. I didn't know they do that. That's not at a school. And they're like, hey, this guy's got a talent. Come on up, Tommy. And then he's like, I'm going to tell you about Michael Myers. And how he remember that character? Yeah, she's here. Remember that character? She's here. Remember that guy? He's also here. Michael Myers, evil dies tonight. Dude, what's your talent? Why are you here? Apparently,
inciting riots is actually his talent.
Apparently, it was bird whistling.
Stories. This is tough.
No, that was so dumb to bring in. Like, they should have. There's a way in which you could have made that more like organic, but I digress. Another thing is, how lazy are we that we have to name two characters John? Can we not like name Richard and like Greg, or can we not like Bob and Steve? No, we have to have Big John and Little John.
Yeah, what was the deal with that?
I don't get it. It was so weird. It was like
I was having this I discussed this with my wife yesterday because we are not yesterday 2 days ago, so we went to Howl-O-Scream, and this was a conversation as we were walking around because she being the resident Halloween person, I'm like trying to figure out references or things that would make this movie better or like make more sense to me. And I was like, do you know anything about this Big John, Little John, or is this just some random thing? And she said it's some random thing that it has no point of reference for the whole series. They just wrote this in here. So yeah, you can continue.
I don't get it. It's weird. That guy, I guess Big John it was. It looked like Christian Slater's like son or something. I don't know. That was just something I felt like saying. All the main characters, like besides Michael Myers, are like not in this, and the story shows, and the lack of plot therefore shows. I text you guys in the middle of this movie because when I feel like a movie's pretty dumb, I don't feel like I'm missing anything by texting. And I was like, this is the infomercial of Halloween movies. Like, man, do you need to kill Michael Myers? Oh man, and you're
does evil need to die tonight?
Yeah. Does evil need to die tonight? Oh man, is your gun totally out of bullets? Is your knife really dull? Are you because everybody's like trying and they're all like, huh? What? Huh? And then, slice, dead, broken, and this movie, I could just go on and on. 15 minutes allotted is almost not enough time for this movie to talk about. Some guy gets stabbed in the armpit. That's a weird place to stab somebody.
I said the exact same thing. I'm not even gonna lie. I was watching it on my iPad. I was sitting next to Amy on the couch, and I was watching it on my iPad. She was watching something else, and I literally was like, "That guy got stabbed in the armpit," and she's like, "What?" I was like, "That's weird."
But again, I digress. It's just dumb. It's just dumb. And then we're already going into spoilers because we're trying to, deter people away from seeing this. You incorporate that Michael Myers is not just some, more than averagely strong dude. He's apparently supernatural, or he's immortal or something like that. So the more he kills, the stronger he gets. And I'm just like,
it's fucking Highlander.
Yes.
What is this?
Only one.
There can only be one. I'm almost done. And yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous all the way throughout. And my wife, who similar to Matt's wife, is very Halloween heavy. She likes horror. She likes slashers. This is her wheelhouse, and she's seen all of them. And she even said at the same point I did, this movie is incredibly dumb. We can go home. But we didn't. We stuck it out all the way through. We actually gave it its due diligence and watched it in the theaters and not at home. And it was done. So, yeah.
So just to interrupt you real quick, you were talking about the scene with Kyle Richards, Lindsay, in that she's by the riverbank or whatever. I literally had thoughts of Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah, pretty much.
I was like, is this the Nazgul? So.
Yeah, it's yeah, and ironically, even though that's kind of a point of humor, it's actually one of the better scenes. Otherwise, it's and what is that hospital scene, man? It's evil dies tonight, and then man, herd mentality.
I learned something from this movie. Apparently, you can shoot yourself in the face by getting kicked by a door.
My gosh, I laughed out loud in the theater and got stared at by the two people to my left.
Oh man. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Anyway.
So whoever else wants to rip on this next, go right ahead.
I'll go. So yeah, I agree with all those points. Alex, that's very noble that you guys went to the theaters and sat through the whole thing. We went to theaters and watched the first 45 minutes. And then I watched the next hour while I was writing my review the next day because I cared so little about this movie. But I comprehended all of it because nothing happens and nothing's important. And it's just the most awkward middle movie I've ever seen in my life. To the point where it might really, I don't really care what happens to this franchise. It's on movie number 11. It's just now moving on movie number 11. And I think I texted you guys recently where I was like, this is just completely antiquated. Like this series should have stopped after one. But anyway, I hate horror sequels. The only reason I think that Michael Myers would be the only reason I want to entertain the idea that he's just an unkillable monster. Now I get why they're entertaining it because they have to justify why he's gone 11 movies, but only 3 canonical movies without dying, is just to make him immortal, I guess, which is fine. The only reason I want to entertain that notion is for an eventual Freddy versus Jason versus Michael movie, which we'll never get. Hopefully, I really want one because I don't care
Never
about
say
any of
never,
these
man.
anymore. Gosh, I hated this movie. Alex, you were talking about the hospital scene. I thought that was the only scene where I was like, oh, I get where this movie's going now. Like it's going for the negativity of mob mentality. And for a moment there, I was like, okay, well, finally a scene picks the focus. And for a little bit, I was really enjoying that scene, despite the fact that I was just being driven nuts by Evil Dies Tonight. The variations on that saying, or this ends tonight, or this stops, or Michael stops, or we have to kill Michael. I'm like, shut up. But then they make the guy who escaped the asylum or whatever, like kill himself. And I was like, oh, that's a potent scene. And then I kept thinking through like how thematically important, and then they cut to his body. And I was like, thanks movie for just throwing grotesque violence at me for no reason while I'm trying to contemplate the themes that you're asking me to deal with. And the movie just felt like that, where it was like nothing, themes bad, nothing, everyone dies. And I don't care about any of it. I don't know how sports work, but I'm assuming you can bench people in professional football. But you bench your quarterback, and then your second string quarterback, and then your third string quarterback, and you leave it to like the guy who's kicking the field goal to run the game. That's how football works. But anyway, like Laurie's is not in it, and then they have the sheriff, and they have the flashbacks about the sheriff and how he's going to be important, and then he's just in the hospital the whole time, and then you're like, okay, Laurie's daughter's going to go after him, and then she doesn't do anything the whole time, and then Laurie's mom's in it, and then she dies.
Oh, that's the one spoiler.
Who cares? It happens like 30 seconds before the credits roll. That's just a cliffhanger. That's just an episode.
Oh man. One remaining point I had was they're chasing that guy who they think is Michael, and I'm just like, two things an issue with that, glaringly an issue. He waddles like a penguin. So how does this entire, like, I would say no more than middle-aged group not catch this guy? And two, he's what, like 4 feet tall? And everybody's like, oh man, we thought it was Michael because we ain't seen Michael without his mask on. I'm like, but Michael is like 6'5". Like, okay, whatever. That's all I have to say.
I like.
Good.
I'm gonna pick on the finale again because I've already spoiled this, but whatever. Okay, so you've got Michael's mask and you're luring him into a trap, and then you beat up Michael. Why run to his house? That's what happens, right? What?
Yeah.
Like that's the worst place you could go.
Well, you got to look out that window, man. You got to look out that window.
Yeah, you gotta get it from his perspective. This
That's
is like
the finish line
duel
in this movie.
Yeah, my only nice thoughts about this were I'm glad they added vocals to the Michael Myers theme to make movie number 11 a little more tolerable by doing the exact same piano notes. And it's not, and my usual for bad movies now, it's not a 2-hour HBO Max commercial. So
Chapter 2, The Truth According to Michael.
Oh, yeah, this movie sucks. According to my wife, though, it's not the worst Halloween movie. I think she said that one was Halloween H2O. So take that for what it's worth.
Oh, not Josh Hartnett.
Yeah, I think what makes this movie even worse, the more I think about it, is how much I enjoyed the previous movie. Mm-hmm. Everything that was right about that movie, they just said, screw it. We're going to throw it out the window with this movie. The other movie was fun. The other movie was almost based in reality, the way everyone reacted to things. The other movie, I think, was a little clever at times. This movie, I'm not sure. David Gordon Green and Danny McBride don't have the greatest track record, especially David Gordon Green. He literally has like Halloween, and I'll give him Pineapple Express, and that's it. You've got other films like The Sitter and Your Highness comedies or whatever, Our Brand is Crisis. It's like, come on, man. He's not that great. But they had a good idea for the first Halloween movie. I'll give them that. I want to know if they actually had an idea of what they wanted to do for the sequel after this movie, because I think the first 2018 version is a perfect beginning, not perfect, but a good beginning to end. This one, they're like, oh crap, we need to make a sequel. Actually, we need to make 2 sequels. So we need to have something to happen that night right after. I don't know. Let's have a mob go after Michael Myers, led by Tommy Doyle. And it's like, all right, that's good in theory, but you get too carried away with your themes of like, how that's a negative thing. And why is Mike killing? And we need to have a good cliffhanger at the end with her daughter getting murdered, which Ryan already spoiled. So we're okay. There's nothing good about this. There is nothing. Even the gratuitous violence, which Ryan hated, it's like some of it even just looked bad. There's a scene where he's like stabbing somebody's eyes out, and it's the most like prosthetic head I've seen. And for $20 million, you could have afforded something better, or at least done something different. This is 2021, man. You're making like a franchise film. Try a little harder. The one saving grace for this sequel, because we're getting a Halloween Ends in a year, which it's not going to end. We're probably going to get another Halloween movie, and hopefully Ryan can get his Freddy Krueger, Jason versus Michael Myers versus Batman versus Superman movie
versus Chucky
versus Godzilla versus Rampage versus The Rock
versus Rocky Balboa
versus Rocky Balboa movie. Yeah. The only good saving grace is I've heard that Halloween Ends is supposed to like take place after a time jump. So we're going to get probably 1 to 4 years. We'll get a reset. We'll get a cool down, and they can start all over again, And I think that's probably what made this movie kind of go off the rails, was just that they were trying to build off the momentum continuity wise from the first movie. I'm not even talking about the logic of this plot either. This man kills like 12 firefighters, and they don't call in like the SWAT team or like the National Guard or anything. Like, I feel like that's a huge red flag. And I feel like, you know, they're not in 1978 anymore. They have the internet now. They can like figure this stuff out. Unless they're in like, and they're not in the middle of nowhere. It's not like they're in, you know, like Iowa or, you know, South Dakota. They're like in a state. There are police around. So everyone in this movie is just stupid. None of it makes sense. Whether it's, you know, we're searching for Mike Myers, we're in a house, one of us go upstairs, one of us go downstairs. I'm like, stay together, guys. This is the dumbest thing ever. Or the fact that you introduce this black couple who, you know, is at the bar and they're like, all right, let's go hunt, you know, Michael Myers. And then later they're like, yeah, we're doctors. And I'm like, wait, you're doctors? Shouldn't you be going to the hospital? Like, you've just heard all these people got murdered and your first reaction is, let's go form a mob and go hunt Michael Myers. I'm like, you should probably go do your jobs, because the hospital's full right now. There's a bunch of people getting murdered. And where are the cops at? Are they all, I mean, I'm sure Haddonville's got like 5 cops and they're all dead in the hospital right now. You guys don't have a backup plan? You don't have a fire department now. You don't have any cops anymore. You got no one to call in. And who's this guy with the cowboy hat? Like the mayor who's just sitting in the hospital? What is he doing except being a caricature of a person that can't do anything, that just seems like he can? He's not doing anything except being trampled in this hospital that apparently has 17 flights of stairs that you have to run up to like find a bum to chase him out of a window.
Yeah.
All this was missing was like the score from Beauty and the Beast. I was waiting for them to like form their mob with their pitchforks and their Kill the beast. I just couldn't with this movie, man. I don't want to give this a 1 because it's got Michael Myers in it, but it definitely deserves a deuce to be dropped on it. So 2 out of 10 for me, man. I can't with this.
Matt, I would never have thought of all of us that you and I would share a rating on Halloween.
Yeah, right. I totally forgot about all the firefighters after he's coming out of the house. I thought, because my first reaction was, okay, this dude's got the hose, which, because of how firefighting works, that thing's got to have a lot of pressure. And so I'm like, okay, he's going to do some damage with that. He's going to at least stagger him some. And it cuts back to Michael, walking right up to him. And the things have a trickle of a kinked up garden hose. I'm like, what is this? You guys are failures at firefighters. That's what I was worried about.
I think that was just...
Go ahead.
I think that was just shot poorly, man, because I have a feeling, it's just it's one of those things where it's supposed to look like, oh crap, Mike Myers is just walking up through this fire stream, and it's like, yeah, that doesn't look the greatest. And it might have been because I think it was shot, maybe, I can't remember if it's in slow motion or not.
It when he's walking out of the house for a second, I think it is, but when he's walking up to the firefighter, I do not think that is the case.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just I'm like, man, you guys got axes, you got high pressure hoses, you can't do anything. You guys stink. I mean,
you guys got helmets on.
Take out the fact that Michael Myers is in this house. I would not feel safe being like, hey, I need you guys to put out my fire of my house. You guys stink at your jobs, just not even being able to stop this guy.
Well, speaking of that, it's that's another thing I hate about this movie. You have Michael Myers trapped in a house, I hate to call it a trap house, but it's got it's got a trap house. Yeah. It's made to capture Michael Myers. Laurie's playing the last 40 years, I'm getting guns, I'm setting up this house, we got this strategy, I'm training my kids. And then you got Tommy Doyle over here who's yeah, I'm ready for Michael. Oh, he's back. Let me grab this bat from the bar called Old Huckleberry and go get in my car and drive around town and start riots. I'm like, that's your plan, man? You don't have any other thing? You don't have any guns or anything? At least Laurie had guns in her house. You got nothing. You have to ask your friend Lonnie for things. What are you can you not get a gun permit now? Was there a DUI or something in the past that we don't know about?
My problem with that though is what is Lonnie doing with all these guns? He's a low-key gun runner, narco or something.
He's just an enthusiast, man.
I'm just saying they've been sitting here like knowing Michael Myers could possibly come back. They don't know anything about it yet. And you've got Laurie over here who's like been planning things, and that's the first movie. Then you have all these people, and after she's done, you have all these other people that had known about Michael Myers' possible comeback. They don't have a plan now. You haven't thought about this. You just go to the bar every October and drink and tell your story. That's all you do.
I think you just described the creation of both the 2018 and this movie.
Yeah.
One person had like a lot of attention and planning and all this stuff, and the other people were like, screw it, let's just do this.
Let's bring all the old characters back.
That leads
Let's
me
get
to
Anthony
ask,
Michael.
who
Yeah, go ahead.
directed both?
That's what I was talking about it earlier.
Oh, is it the
David
same?
Gordon Green.
Oh,
Yeah,
see, I
it's
didn't
the
know
same
who that
person.
was.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
he's doing the third one too. So
This has to be like this easily the setup movie. Like, we just need to kind of trickle go. We need to have something to churn out before we really get to what we need to get to. So I think he even knows that it was just straight up garbage.
I'm not even talking about like even some of the acting, even from like Jamie Lee Curtis when she's like stabbing, it was so hammy. Like she was just
Oh
awful.
yeah. I was talking with somebody about that too. Like when she's getting out of the hospital bed, like after she's been on morphine, and she's just like, "Oh, I gotta go get more," and we're just like, "What are you doing, man?"
Yeah, well, and I can imagine, like, can you imagine though what you're like, you get on set and you're like, all right, great, what's today going to be look like? Well, you're in the hospital. I was like, I was in the hospital all month. Yeah, you're going to be in the hospital this movie. Like, how would you feel if you're like the star of this franchise and the last movie you got to face off with Michael Myers again, and people received it really well, and this movie you just get benched?
So one last thing before we move on to Dune. Did anybody else get like Laurie Strode, Will Patton vibes that like Judy Greer was their daughter? You remember that whole scene in the hospital where like, remember that night that we kissed? Whatever happened to that?
Oh yeah,
You know, yeah,
that was weird.
It was a really weird scene, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think they were just trying to do the whole like connection thing so that they can be together and hunt Michael Myers in the next movie. But I don't know about daughter thing. I'll run that by Jeannie and see if she picked up on anything about that.
Okay.
I think they were trying to make those two actors feel like they had something to do.
Yeah.
That wasn't lay in a bed and complain about being hurt or not being able to get up.
I have one very tiny positive point about this. The way they they recaptured what it looked like to make a 1979 film was really well done.
Yeah.
Like good amount of film grain, the color, all that stuff, really good work.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
That's
Jim
it.
Cummings from Wolf's was in this, so that was awful. So this movie deserves zero.
and the Dr. Loomis like stand-in I thought was actually really good.
Yeah,
except his dialogue.
Yeah.
Did Michael kill again? He's been doing it all night. Didn't you watch the original movie? You're literally like at the end of this movie where he's killed so many people. What does it matter if he killed one more cop?
You're like, what do you think, man? What do you think?
We're moving on because Dune came out last night, and this is Friday, and I think this is what Brian's been waiting for. So I'm actually going to turn the reins over to Ryan. So if you want to like give like the synopsis and everything to Dune, because I know I'm going to butcher this. So go ahead, sir.
I did my homework. So Dune is based off the book novel by Frank Herbert, which was published a long time ago, and for a while it was considered very unfilmable because of how influential it was in sci-fi, but how ahead of time everything in it takes place is. But to give a very simple premise, Dune follows Paul Atreides, who's the son of a duke of a powerful house. The house is given control of this planet Arrakis, which is where this substance called spice is, and pretty much the universe depends on this spice for everything, including space travel and yada, yada, yada. So they're given this control of this planet. They take it away from a powerful house that doesn't like them already. So you get the sense that it's more or less a setup. But then you have these ideas that Paul's been having these visions of the people on Dune called the Fremen, who are the locals. And everything kind of starts from there. There's weird elements. There's the Bene Gesserit and people pulling strings and strange abilities and all this stuff. But pretty much your very typical prophecy chosen one story kind of plays into it there.
Cool.
Did you want to give your review first, or did you want to like save yours for last?
I'll go first if you guys want me to.
Yeah. I feel like to get yours like up forefront, and because it's going to be the most elegant.
Okay. So I did a lot of homework for this. I love the properties Dune. I'm not a good reader, so I haven't finished the book. I can't keep an attention span of books. It's just the way I am. But I've watched the 84 film a couple times. It's not good. I've watched the miniseries a couple times. It is good, but now I don't need to watch it anymore. And my big takeaways from Dune, because I've been looking forward to this forever. Denis Villeneuve has slowly become one of my all-time favorite directors. Sicario is one of my top 50 favorite films. Blade Runner 2049 is fantastic. And when I heard that he was following Blade Runner 2049 completely tanking, we got the announcement that he was going to do Dune. And I was like, perfect. He can revive another 80s sci-fi that needs another installment. And this isn't so much an installment, just a replacement, because David Lynch's Dune isn't good. So I had really high expectations going into this. Knowing that it was going to be 2.5 hours, and that's only the first half too, that's the runtime you pretty much need for Dune. The miniseries is 4.5 hours, and it's good. It's good enough. And they still don't have time for some important elements early on. I had no problems with this movie whatsoever. It's the most I've enjoyed seeing a movie in theaters since Inception in 2010, which I gave a perfect 10 out of 10 for right away. I've given only one 10 out of 10 since then, which is the movie Rush from 2013 with Chris Hemsworth. And I don't think that nearly stands up to Dune. So I think I would be doing it a disservice if I didn't give it a 10 out of 10, which I'm going to go ahead and just do. That's definitely bias. And I'll say why. I think expectations definitely play into it, and I was expecting a perfect movie, and it didn't let me down. So my expectations being met definitely don't help how much I enjoyed this movie compared to objectively looking at it. On top of that, I love sci-fi. Big budget sci-fi with high concept doesn't happen that often, and when it does, I think it's perfect. Space Odyssey is one of my all-time favorite films, and people don't like that. And if you don't like Space Odyssey, you won't not like Dune. But there is a hefty balance of style over substance. And for me, if you can do style over substance, but deliver some substance, I love it. I love Avatar. It's not perfect, and it's really, really shallow, but it doesn't exist to be a really deep movie and a visually stunning movie. It exists to be a technical masterpiece. And for me, Dune is a technical masterpiece that delivers on the novel substance. Everything is really great. I loved all the performances in it. Some of them are not in it quite enough. I don't think that's necessarily a problem. I think that's trying to stay true to the book. And all of them left me wanting more. And I have trouble telling whether or not that's because they aren't in it enough, or they leave such a memorable mark on the movie that I can't wait for more in the sequel, which apparently we're actually getting, according to an HBO exec that said an article about it like a couple days ago. So that's nice, because I want more Stellan Skarsgård as Baron Harkonnen, because he's incredible, and I hated seeing him on screen. He's terrifying. I wanted him to go away every time he showed up, and then I kept wanting him to come back every time he wasn't on screen. I was like, I think everyone does an incredible job. I don't have any problems with any of the performances. Some of them are definitely more important than others, and I think that I think a couple of these people didn't have to be necessarily A-listers. I think everyone does an incredible job regardless. Like, trying to think of an example right now. I wouldn't replace any of the cast. There's a couple moments with Jason Momoa where I was like, this is added because you're Jason Momoa. But I don't mind that it was added. There's one scene that's definitely not originally in the book where he's got this extra action sequence, and I ended up really enjoying it, and then it gave me a really good laugh. And I was like, yeah, good. Roll with your actors while you have them. Because there's so many people in this movie. Give screen time to who you can. And I think this movie does a really good job balancing out the characters and the screen time that you have. And it may be because I've had other examples of this. So you guys might have a completely different impression of how these characters are portrayed. But going from a movie that tries to put in too many characters into 2 hours to a movie that has 2.5 hours, and that's only half the story, it was really nice seeing minor characters like Dr. Yue in 3 or 4 scenes instead of not in the movie until he's important and then not in the movie anymore. And I'm like, so it was nicer to have that balance. And this movie had important time to spend on important character dynamics. The relationship between Paul and Leto was never something that I really cared about in any other adaptation. And between Oscar Isaac and Timothée Chalamet and the way the characters are written, I loved those characters and their dynamic, and I understood what drives them, and I loved seeing the way they play off of the political intrigue. And this, I could keep going. I probably should wrap up. But like, I love the way this film presents the story, and you basically have, I said it was in my review earlier, it's very Game of Thrones. And in the sense that you've got your very political intrigue and your houses and all this stuff. And I think there's definitely some inspiration that Dune had on Thrones as far as storytelling goes, that you get from this. And you've got like, you don't have your lightsabers. You have very much like, this person's popular, so everyone hates him. That's really interesting. I love seeing elements of that play out, and characters that are dealing with it and realizations and all this betrayal. And there's a lot of intrigue and characters that are new to it. And I love seeing Paul balance that world with the new world of Arrakis now that he has. And he's got this kind of biblical-esque thing going with the Fremen, and it's kind of a whole new world. And I love the way the movie crushes those storylines together. And you've got your kind of impending threat as far as like the fantasy film goes, and you've got your giant sandworms, and but it never takes away from the political intrigue of it, and the film never bogs you down with things you don't need to know. Like, yeah, I would love to see more things in this. I was missing, like, you don't meet the Emperor in this. That's fine. You have too many characters already in this. I don't need to meet the Emperor until the next one. So on top of that, it looks just incredible. Yesterday, Matt, you sent a GIF of Henry Jackman from The Fountain, but you have no idea how I sat like this in my Dolby Cinema, like this, for about 2.5 hours. I just was in awe of how it looked. That movie looks, and Denis Villeneuve, this was no surprise. I mean, even if everything in this movie didn't work, which might be the case for you guys. If things don't work, that's fair. I have the advantage of having all this homework, so I don't know how biased I am. I really don't. But even if those things didn't work, this movie looks just incredible. It's so well shot. The visual effects are stunning. The sound mixing is incredible. Zimmer has easily proven himself, not necessarily the next John Williams, but in the sense that John Williams changed the game for musical scores, the next John Williams, because his scores are so woven in to the landscape and scenescape that you couldn't take it out. And I've been listening to them for about a month now, but now I can't get the music out of my head because of how powerful they go with some of the moments. They don't stand out necessarily too much, but they don't blend in the background. I'm going to stop.
It's like, we'll be here all week.
That's when all three of us are like, yeah, what he said.
Yeah. I have one more thing to say. And Alex, I'm going to steal this from you. But so full credit to Alex. You said it was like Fellowship of the Ring. I completely agree with you. Mm-hmm. It is very part one. Now, I don't think that's a problem because I don't know how else I would do it. You know, the act structure is not your typical 3-act structure in a movie. It's very much the first half of a movie, which is exactly what I think it needs to be. I don't think you should try to force your characters to have quickly concluded their character arcs by the end of movie number one. And in Fellowship of the Ring, that doesn't happen. You have character growth, you have larger events that happen, you hit all your emotional beats, and you wind down, and then you end. And I've heard this movie has a really abrupt ending, but I don't really think it does. I think it's kind of a pitch perfect ending. The only thing that was for me is that there's one point where I thought it was ending, and I was like, oh, this is a little soon. It was soon. It was like 90 minutes in the movie, but it felt like it was ending, and then it went on for another hour. I was happy. I just thought it was ending. So that's not necessarily a nitpick. It's just a little weird moment in pacing. But again, I think that kind of, it's full of trippy dream sequences in the first place, and the book is trippy. So I think I just had my wrong expectations during that one scene, and I'm glad it went on for another hour. I'll be done.
No, I'll go next. Ryan, I don't think you're too biased, and I cannot, for the life of me, ever remember how to pronounce the director's name.
Denis Villeneuve, I think.
Denis Villeneuve.
That's how I've heard everyone else say it.
He has been hyping this movie like ever since it was announced. So it's like the hype. You're not the only one who's going to have the hype. So it's kind of like, you know, if it doesn't meet that expectations, then you either shouldn't have been hyping it, or it just doesn't have a good quality, or both. So, but you're fine in that. I did say it was Fellowship of the Ring. I felt like it was just kind of this love child between Star Wars, more specifically A New Hope, and Fellowship. It's a good complement to sci-fi and fantasy beginnings. It's a very effective. I just kind of got a nice blend of both when I was watching this. I have limited exposure to the book. I purchased the book before and I wanted to watch it, but time eluded me. And I was really only able to get to the third chapter. This book doesn't really have chapters, but the way it's segmented is the third chapter. So I did recognize the one scene towards the beginning. I was like, yeah, that looks fairly what I remember. The dialogue is almost verbatim from the book. So kudos to them for keeping it, at least from what I very limitedly know, to be true. So that's awesome to them. I agree, Hans Zimmer. There was a point in this movie where it's they're actually literally like out in the sand dunes, and I got this kind of like Knights of Arabia kind of just little trickle of something real quick, but it didn't make me like think, okay, you're just kind of making this, you're almost spoofing on it. It did something and then kind of took it back. I do remember that happening at some point, and it's not bad. It just kind of, to your point, Ryan, he put something in there to make you notice it, but not have it glaring. So, and I think it's a job well done because it does fit every setting, tone, whatever they're trying to go for, it fits. The portrayals are very good. Timothy Chalamet is, he portrays the character to what I know him to be. He's, if anything, he's a little bit more arrogant than I would expect the character to be, but I don't know. So but it's a fairly well told story. If you go into this thinking you're going to get the entire book, then you're going to be slightly disappointed by that ending, because I get how that might seem like it abruptly ends, but it's here's another thing. Right at the beginning of the film, they do a quote from the book in the I don't know the like Sarcond, whatever that species is, something about how like dreams or something blah blah blah. And I was like, that's a very weird thing, and I've never seen that happen. And then they make sure to really let you know that this is part one of this. Like they're not even shying away from it. So I like that. I'm not a huge sci-fi person, so when you do too much like aliens and crazy looking things, crazy looking armor, all kinds of stuff, it almost is the opposite effect for me. I'm just like, I can't really grasp onto this. This did a nice job of getting to that limit for a while, but not getting me like to the point where I'm disinterested in this. Scenes are absolutely well shot. There was one moment in this movie that I thought was really weird. I mean, there's a part where these machines have like this kind of like balloon mechanism that like grabs onto other things, and it looked very, very, for a second, very cheesy CGI when the balloon just kind of, and it kind of moves in a way that doesn't look very fluid. I know it's a weird thing to remember, but I just remember going, that looks off.
No, I agree with you. It's that uncanny effect where we don't know what that would look like. So like all the others are based on texture, like metal or sand or something, and we're like, I don't know what that's supposed to look like. So I'm having trouble picturing what it looks like. I thought the same thing during that moment, and I got over it because I was like, sure, that's what that's supposed to look like.
It's like every movie kind of gets that, that moment where you're like, okay, I can look over this because of all the, effort put into the rest. And the conflicts are good enough. There's not a ton of action in this, but I did not expect that. It's very story driven, and it's very well done. I need to see it again. I have to watch this again fairly soon. I feel like once I read the book, I just need to go back and kind of compare again. But my score, I didn't think this deserved lower than a 7. But I think I'm going to give it an 8, because with only room to go up, because I think this is going to be a very, very nice complementary piece once we get the next part, maybe 2 parts, depending on how this goes. But it's very, very good, a start off. And can this be a franchise? sure, or I don't know if it's already considered that. Like if it's going to go the way of Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings, we'll see. It has a lot of content to do so, so maybe it can. But 8 out of 10. This needs to be watched if you call yourself a sci-fi fan, at the least. So whoever's next can go next.
Go ahead, Maddie.
So I sent out a text message, and I was completely trolling, by the way.
Okay.
I love you
This
anyway.
is
You can
the-
say whatever you want.
No. This literally, I love sci-fi, by the way. This movie was probably the quickest 2 hours and 30 minutes I've ever experienced. Even to the point where I was watching it and I paused it after something kind of major happened, and I was like, I need to go to the restroom, and I paused it, and I was like, oh man, I've only got an hour left of this movie. Are you kidding me right now? So that said, all the performances are good except for Jason Momoa, but I just don't like Jason Momoa, and it is what it is. He just always kind of plays that same character, and I just want a little more range. Go ahead.
I'm an advocate.
Okay.
Duncan's a really boring character in every other adaptation, so I'm at
Okay.
least glad that he had some personality.
Okay.
I could care less about his performance. I'm just glad he had personality. Duncan's supposed to be like this chummy character, and he's never given any justice in the other adaptation. If it helps.
Well, good. No, that's good.
2
That's
scenes
good.
of this one. He's in. I won't say what, but yeah.
Well, his character definitely makes it better. It's just
Yeah.
Jason Momoa, and I'm good with.
He's in it for star power.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I think is perfect. I enjoyed everybody's face that came on that screen except for his. I'm like, all right, this works. God bless Rebecca Ferguson. She's killing it, man. Killing it. This movie's good, man. Denis, he can make beautiful films that go hand in hand with beautiful music, whether it's, this movie or Prisoners, beautiful movie. I don't care what you say. Or, Arrival. So it's good. Even Sicario, like you brought up. So he hasn't missed really with anything. This is good stuff. And God bless the balls on him for putting part 1 on the title card. Because maybe he knows something we don't. I mean, I guess they announced the second one already, but he's like, you know what? Part 1, guys, bring on the second one. Here's the thing, and this is maybe a hot take, and it might be a hot take for Ryan. And by the way, I give this movie 8 out of 10, and it's kind of like the Fellowship effect, where it's like you kind of have to wait till the last movie if you want to give it like a 10 out of 10, just because we don't know where it's gonna go. This isn't a complete story, so 8 out of 10 from me. I think that this movie being on HBO Max is a good thing, and I will tell you why. Because I think this is a very hard sell for the general audience.
Yeah.
A very hard sell. At least with films like Avatar, you kind of have this like, not modern day, but kind of military thing that people can latch onto without, crazy terminology or anything. It's just very subtle things that you can ease them into. This movie starts out pretty hard with all the futuristic stuff, like all names, all, weird technologies. Everything. Go ahead. Were you gonna say something?
That's me. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'll get into
So I think it's perfect for HBO Max because people don't really have to commit to this. And what's even better is, at least on my part too, I could throw on my subtitles and I'll tell you what, that helped me tremendously with hearing like what everyone was saying in the background chanting. Like if I didn't know, I'm like, all right, okay, cool. That's what they're saying. And then I could like mentally put together things that, I was watching in a theater to be like, I don't really get that. What's going on? But at least now I can put 2 and 2 together and it makes things a lot easier. So I think this movie being on HBO Max, it's a good thing for this franchise. And I think if it has any room to like be even more successful or even be successful at this point, that's going to help it. Maybe it won't be for this movie. I mean, at least maybe not at the box office for this movie, but definitely for the second movie if it gets made at the box office. So I think that's good.
For the record.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, without really giving it too much away, like literally my only complaint was that I kind of wish it was longer. And by longer, I mean, I just kind of wish I had more of it. So there you go.
I wanted a 5-hour movie.
Yeah. I wanted more backstory. I wanted more interactions. I wanted to see more things. So
you reminded me of one little part with the whole subtitles. And I will agree that like when I first started reading the book, I was like, there are a lot of like names and words that you have to learn like right off the bat, and it's kind of a hard read, you know, first off. So, and you know, so the movie kind of mirrors that. And there was the one scene that I do remember having read is with the old lady, and she pronounces this one thing where if you read it, it looks like it's just straight, like it's a kind of silly word, and it might have just been that intention when it was first written. Called, it looks like it's written GOM, like gom jabber, but the lady pronounces it in kind of a way that makes it more like elegant and kind of more sophisticated. She calls it like gom jabbar, and I'm like, okay, I get it. So because if you have this thing and it looks like and you call it a gom jabber, you know, it's kind of like it takes the sting out of it, you know, no pun intended. And
is that a reference to the fact that Sting is in the original 1984 Dune?
I don't know, man. Wait, Sting's in the original? 10 out of 10. But yeah, I that was one I didn't want to forget that point. So, but yeah, now it
also,
is. Yeah.
Sorry, I was gonna switch. I had a thought. You guys were like, this is kind of like this is kind of like that, and I'm like, I feel like Star Wars and like maybe not like Fellowship, but like other films like Star Wars and like maybe The Matrix and even Avatar have borrowed from this as opposed to the other way around. So, but there are a lot of things like that. And I also wanted to state, I'm kind of one of those people that feel like it kind of ends abruptly. Of course, I'm trying to remember the first time I saw Fellowship in the theaters, if I thought the same thing. I don't think there was a good, like, not ending beat, but almost, I don't know if there was like enough climax at the end for me. And I think that's what people say it abrupts.
Yeah.
Because there's really not that like, oh my God. And then we get our thing, or you know, our credits. It's like, okay. Oh, credits? Oh, okay, this is where we're ending here. Yeah. So there's not like that dramatic moment.
In that way.
I feel like we're never gonna let Clint go. I was gonna say it's tough too because the other adaptations really have a hard time breaking it up too, because there's a point in the book where there's a clear break, and then if you made a movie following that break, it's an hour-long movie. And I'm like, it's just the book puts them in such a hard spot. So yeah,
I was literally in this movie. One of my biggest criticisms were some characters, they would show up and I wouldn't get answers from them or backstory from them at all. And then they would end up not relevant, but they wouldn't be in the movie anymore. And I'd be like, oh, well, I guess it's a moot point now that I don't know much about you. And I was a little flustered, but I get it now. It's okay. But go ahead, Clint, tell us what you think and how much you hated this film.
No, actually I didn't. I think it's going to go down by like knowledge of everything, because I know of Dune. I've never seen the 84 like David Lynch, never read the book. I know of sandworms. That was as far as my knowledge of Dune kind of went. So I even walked out of it, like not walked out of it, but like finished this with
what?
Yeah. I finished this with like an 8.5 actually, because you know, just borrowing on some of the points that you guys had said. First of all, like with Fellowship of the Ring, I don't think that Fellowship ended abruptly. I think if they used the book ending, it would have ended extremely abruptly. Because what's funny is that the Fellowship, the movie, Peter Jackson actually borrows like the first chapter of Two Towers, so it ends well. I kind of have to disagree with like the climactic moment, because he's doing the whole duel. So it is kind of like a climactic moment. And then they're like, oh yeah, he's one of us now. And I feel like that was kind of organic to kind of stop there, because it feels like a transition. It feels like he's being accepted by, what is it for?
The Fremen.
Yeah, the Fremen. So it feels like a transition to me anyway. So it feels like that transition into the second part where he is accepted by them, and now he can start, you know, doing whatever, I assume, building an army or whatever.
It's character climactic,
right? So yeah, and these true like large trilogies and stuff like are kind of my wheelhouse. So I really did enjoy this. I agree with you, Ryan. Like Denis Villeneuve is sneakily like probably like my second favorite director right now, behind Nolan. As much as I didn't like Tenet, but Nolan still like his history kind of makes up for that. Where like Denis Villeneuve has been secretly kind of making like these amazing movies for a little while now, like Sicario, Prisoners, Enemy was pretty good with Jake Gyllenhaal. It's a good movie. Arrival. So all these movies were really good, and I think what I have to give props to Villeneuve for is that he makes these kind of minimalistic movies, like these minimalistic science fiction movies that still work really well and are very beautiful to kind of like look at. Because I mean, if you look at a lot of this movie, is very blank, and it's not just because they're on this like huge desert planet, and it's kind of like Blade Runner 2049. A lot of it was just kind of like these blank slates, and they were just like large monolith of buildings and stuff like that. But they were just like these tones. And when you're on like the first planet, there is a lot of earth tones. And then you get to this, and then there's a lot of browns and stuff like that. And I love how he, like with Arrival and Blade Runner and this, they're very minimalistic. They're very tonally like different from each other, but still kind of flow very organically within the movie. So whoever his like production designer is, keep him paid, or her paid, or them paid. So yeah, I would give this an 8.5. My only criticism, and I know that you guys said all the performances are great. I love Rebecca Ferguson. She does an amazing job in this movie. I also had to turn on my subtitles a few times because they were talking so softly, and then they talk very rapidly that I was like, wait, what? So I do agree the HBO Max thing is a good thing. My only complaint is Timothy Chalamet. The only reason why it's just a slight like nick to him is because he's literally the same character in all of his movies. It just feels like he's got this kind of like emo, kind of like woe is me, kind of like depressed kind of look to him. And I don't know if that's just his look, but look, he looks the same in Lady Bird. He looked the same in The King. I hope he doesn't take this into Wonka, where he's a little bit more like happy, at least.
Nope.
Huh?
You're gonna get the same character, man.
So
I don't know if that's like the Paul character or not, and maybe if that is the Paul character, he kind of fits it really well. But he's just like this emo kid in my high school that just kind of like floats into every role the same way. So that was my only thing. I loved Oscar Isaac in this movie too. I thought he was amazing. But yeah, Timothée Chalamet is probably my only like a slight. That's it.
So I don't know if we caught the ratings for both Matt or Clint.
8.5.
I don't know. Okay, cool. I wasn't sure if we got that. All right.
I agree. I think so I think part of it is definitely trying to make it feel like it's a little more relevant for people who are younger. Paul is very like, he's not whiny. He's not quite like, I was going to go to Tosche Station to pick up some power converters, but
yeah,
like he's very like, I'm tired. I don't want to do this. I just woke up. I don't want to do this. And he says it like 3 times where he's like, I've had a long day. I don't want to do this. And I think it's where the movie might suffer from being half a movie.
Okay.
But yeah, I think Timothée Chalamet is probably a good casting choice for Paul, but I don't disagree that it's also a very similar type of performance that he gives in his other ones. It wasn't really until like there's a scene where they're like in a tent where I was like, oh, he's doing a great job. For me, he kind of did a fine job until then. Yeah. Then I realized that he was going to have to carry a lot of the next movie. So I think that might be where,
Yeah, I think it bodes well that I hadn't seen any, because we reviewed The King last year, I think, and I don't think I'd seen any of his other films prior to this, other than The King. So I think I didn't have that effect of he's just the same guy and everything. So maybe that is a knock that I I'm not aware of.
Yeah. I will say too, just to go like completely on the record in a video, that if the next one doesn't come out or it's not good, I will bump this down to a 9. I'm just preemptively giving it a 10. Like I didn't get to do that. So like I saw Fellowship of the Ring and I loved it, but I didn't give it a 10 until I saw the extended edition of all 3 movies. And then Fellowship became my favorite of all 3. I'm just preemptively giving this that.
So real quickly, I'm going to interject because like you just reminded me of this, of what Matt said, and like putting this on HBO Max and stuff. Game of Thrones references or borrowing Game of Thrones, borrowing from this. I do feel like this could like be like a series. Like I'm not understanding like why they haven't done this before, especially with Game of Thrones. No, like something good.
This is good. It's 3 episodes and each episode's 90 minutes. It's just so no, you're right. It's because when they made it, TV budgets weren't good. Game of Thrones hadn't come out, so it's low budget. It's very good, and the whole thing's on YouTube. I recommend it. If you want like all of their, like Matt, you were talking about not getting to the minor characters. Like if you want to get to know like all the minor characters except for Dr. Yue for some reason, like that's a good way to know them. They just didn't have the budget for it, and I feel like now that they had the budget for it, they just wanted to make a movie.
Right. But I see with like even with Game of Thrones, I do think that they left a lot of stuff out because I read all 4 books now. There's only 4 books, right? So I read all the books, and there are some characters that I think that they probably should, like Lady Stoneheart, that they probably should have put in Game of Thrones. But I think that they did a good job of at least touching base on like a lot of important things that happened in the books. With a budget like that, I mean, I think I read that like the last season was $10 million. Or like $1 million per episode, something like that. So if they put that type of money into this, I think that you probably gain a bigger audience, and I think it would do really well.
I agree, and we could do the whole thing all at once.
Right, exactly. And then like you know, like Alex said, I think there's like 6 other books in this saga.
Yeah, there's Dune Messiah, Children of Dune, God Emperor Dune.
I have God Emperor Dune.
Yep. Oh yeah, there's an abundance and an embarrassment of content.
Yeah. So I should say, based on what I know, Dune is the good one.
Dune is the good one.
And the other sequel books are they just kind of go off the deep end, and they either get really silly or really weird.
Cool.
So if it helps, Children of Dune is very. I own it because it was a buck, and I have it in my Dune collection now, but it's very not well written. And I thought it was the series, and then I looked it up, and I was like, oh, this is the book. This is like major beats are taken from the book. Fun fact though, John Harrison, who wrote, directed, and produced the 2000 miniseries, also produced this Dune, which I thought was really cool. I was hoping to see like just for posterity's sake, like he and David Lynch both produced this one, but no.
I was looking it up while we were just talking a second ago. Because I didn't know this one's budget. So it's 165 million, and at the box office right now, unclear if that's worldwide or not. But it's at 129 million already. So
Well, I was going to say, it's one of those films where even if it doesn't do well here, international audiences will chew this up.
Oh yeah,
eat it. So
yeah,
I know it's been doing really well in Europe since it came out like a couple weeks ago in Europe.
Cool.
I was gonna say the article that I read earlier today too that said like it wasn't like a confirmed like Dune 2's in production now, but like one of the execs on it said like. He said in answering the question will it or will it not happen, you pretty much know the answer to that. And I'm like, I guess it's a cryptic yes.
Yeah.
You're like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I read the same thing where she was like, the way this one ends, it should be.
Yeah. I think Matt. Matt, I completely agree with you about its HBO Max release, because I think that's actually a really smart way to get people on board, because people might not go see it, but people who watch it will probably like it, and then they'll watch it again, and then it'll have enough popularity to get another one, regardless of if it takes number one over Halloween Kills this weekend. Which, by the way, will be the worst thing that's happened this year. I'm just kidding.
You know what? And it might even be a double, like the Warner Brothers might be able to like double dip from this, because I mean, if you're like, if you were hesitant about going to see this and you have HBO Max and you're like, okay, maybe I want to go see it, and then you're like, okay, maybe since this was so good, I have to kind of experience it the way it was intended to be before COVID became a thing. Yeah, and Clint's literally doing that. He's
Right.
gonna come see it on Sunday, I believe, and so that bodes well for Warner Brothers, because then they can just kind of make, the money off the subscriptions that they didn't already originally have, even with them cutting 6-month subscription like in half for newcomers. They can still essentially at least make 1.5 times they normally would, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I mean, it's all financially sound, apparently, assuming the quality of the film, which we know it to be good, is good. So while I hate, as a theater, employee, hate, advertising streaming, like it actually kind of bodes well, for the future. So, yay me.
Yay. All right. Do we have any other thoughts any lasting thoughts on Dune?
I could probably.
No.
No, I'm good. Oh yeah, no. I feel so bad that I didn't talk about Rebecca Ferguson, because you guys both did, and I was like, crap, she was my favorite thing about that movie, and I didn't even talk about her. I liked Lady Jessica in the '84 film. I think she's a great character. And then in the miniseries, like the actress that plays her does such an incredible job that she became like my favorite character in Dune. And then we have like Rebecca Ferguson just completely blowing away this performance. She's now one of my all-time favorite actresses. I loved that character. She I like most of the characters, their ability to like layer these characters with just a little bit of the screen time. And she's got more screen time than I think than most of the other people on screen.
Mhm.
But she does just such an incredible job. So I just wanted to get on board the bandwagon and agree with you guys on that.
She's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So coming up next week, we have Last Night in Soho, which is right. That's next week, right?
Yep.
We kind of skipped a week.
Yeah. So this upcoming week technically should have been Dune, but since we all got ahead of the game, we're already done with that. So next week.
Join us for Ron's Gone Wrong.
Yeah, really. You joke, but I probably just gonna jump in that and see what the heck, just because I'm self-loathing.
I'm gonna go see Dune again tonight, so I already got my tickets. But I mean, I'm gonna see Soho next Thursday night.
Yeah, if there's, I think AMC is doing like a Wednesday premiere for it, at certain locations, from what I was told. Depending on what time that is, if we don't end up getting it, I might check it out.
Hey, Alex.
No, shut up, Matt.
Are we getting Soho?
I don't know, man. You gotta wait until Monday. But so if we do this again, like on Thursday or Friday, kind of depends on the time, I will see Soho in some shape or form somewhere.
Cool.
So
all right. Well, then I will figure something out for us next week.
And I'll take you with me. Come on.
There's that vampire movie that's on Netflix that opened this weekend. That's called something.
Man, I love that movie.
Yeah.
With that guy.
First Bite or something like that. Bite Night.
Well, and then there's also
Night Teeth. Night Teeth. Watch Night Teeth. It's got bad reviews.
What bullet
Looks like somebody already beat us to it.
I'm gonna watch it.
Ron's like, I'm gonna get my money's worth out of this Netflix subscription.
Right.
Yeah, I gotta wait. Still waiting for Bebop and then Witcher. So.
Yeah. All right. Do we have any last thoughts or anything?
Nope.
Nada? All right. Well, just a quick reminder that we are on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Spotify. If you don't want to watch this, please listen to us. Thank you everybody for watching and listening. Please give us a like and subscribe to our channel. Also leave a comment. We like hearing from people. But if there's nothing else, this meeting is adjourned. Deuces.